There's a lot of follow-up work that is being done by volunteers from the community.
Any activity that goes on in a park, there is an impact. Dumping garbage in a park is no exception.
It's a beautiful park. There's lovely, lovely wetlands out here.
Hi, I'm Candice Ng, and you're watching The Sustainable Region. We are here today at Iona Beach Regional Park, one of Metro Vancouver's regional parks situated on the Pacific Flyway, the overhead highway for migrating birds that stretches all the way from Alaska to the southern tip of South America. These are ecologically significant areas that Metro Vancouver Regional Parks is committed to protecting. And that includes the creatures that spend time in these important green spaces. Here's a look at one of them. It's a spectacular sight. The annual visit by thousands of snow geese, travelers from far, far away.
Every year, well over 100,000 snow geese make the journey from northern Russia to the Fraser River Delta to spend their winter months here, stocking up and preparing for the arduous journey back to their breeding territory on Wrangell Island, some 4,000 kilometers to the north of us.
On this morning, the birds are across the river from Iona Beach Regional Park. But it's also common to see them at the entranceway to the park, right next to the public washrooms, directly in front of the main parking lot.
The marshes on the Fraser River Delta provide them with the sustenance they need to put on lots of body fat to make the journey back, but also to survive the cold period of winter. They couldn't survive in northern Russia because the temperatures there are minus 30, 40, 50 degrees.
Snow geese are easy to identify. They always travel in large numbers. They're primarily white, as their name suggests, but their tail feathers are actually black, and their beaks and faces are typically discolored, a souvenir of their time spent here on the Fraser River Delta.
Biologists in Russia can tell which birds have overwintered on the Fraser Delta by the orange staining of their face, which is caused by the high iron content in the silt and sand that flows down the Fraser River.
Young snow geese are gray in color. If you see 2 adult snow geese in a group with 2 or 3 juveniles, they are likely a family. Snow geese mate for life. The snow geese who come here are known as the Fraser Skagit flock, as they also spend time in Washington State.
They arrive here in October, maybe late September. They'll spend a couple of months here. They'll move down to the Skagit River for maybe a couple of months, come back here for a month or a month and a half, and then head back to Wrangell Island.
There goes one, yeah.
The annual visit is a big attraction for birders near and far, as well as other recreational users of Iona Beach Regional Park.
I think they're impressive because they're a big bird and they stand out, and they're really contrasting against the darkness of the winter time, these bright white birds. So also just the huge numbers. We have thousands and thousands of them flying overhead at any one time, and so the noise and the sight of it is pretty amazing.
It's one of the most common questions regional park staff are asked. What are those big white birds?
They're not sure what they are, and they want to find out and ask questions to figure out what they are. I think a lot of times it's a surprise when people find them.
The population of snow geese at Iona Beach Regional Park has grown in recent years. And that's due to a habitat restoration project that Metro Vancouver has undertaken.
In 2013, Metro Vancouver Parks began to remove Scotch broom from this particular park because it had taken over the entire park. In the time since, we've removed about 10 acres of Scotch broom here, and it's becoming more suitable for snow geese to use as they feed on the grasses that are beginning to grow here. It's a great example of what happens when you restore habitat.
The restoration work is a continuing effort.
There's a lot of follow-up work that is being done by volunteers from the community who come out and they remove small seedlings of regrowth and maintain the sites so that they can last well into the future.
If you're interested in helping to restore and protect this important bird habitat, you can go to meetup.org and search Metro Vancouver Regional Park's Ecological Restoration Team. These beautiful birds will thank you. Welcome back. Scotch broom isn't the only invasive species found in our regional parks. There's a long list of other plants like English ivy and Himalayan blackberry that are also a big problem, often introduced into a previously healthy ecosystem by the dumping of yard waste. And that's not the only thing that people dump in our regional parks, an ongoing challenge faced by Metro Vancouver in protecting these important green spaces. Patrick Smith is making his rounds. He's a park ranger working in Metro Vancouver's regional park system. And an unfortunate part of his job is picking up garbage that's been dumped in the parks.
This morning at one of our regional parks, we found household garbage. So we found a desk, chairs, what looked like some items that belonged in a garage, empty oil containers, spray paint containers. We found those just on the border of the park in a waterway. Any activity that goes on in a park, there is an impact. Dumping garbage in a park is no exception. So depending on the type of items, depends on the impact. But no matter what's dumped, it shouldn't be there in the first place, and there will be a negative environmental impact.
Often during gardening season, people will dump their garden waste in a regional park. And while that may seem harmless, it's actually quite damaging to the environment. Ross Davies of the stewardship group Keeps knows the problem all too well.
It's the number one issue we've got, without a doubt, and especially in terms of dumping invasive plant materials. Number one, people aren't realizing what they're up to. They think it's just soil, it's just green, not a problem. And then as you see behind us here, away it goes. You've got an ivy infestation, which is obviously from dumping. We've got a mix of cottonwood, alder, and maple. Some of them are dying. The ivy's climbed the trees, cutting off their photosynthesis, their food supply. So if left unchecked, every one of these trees will be dead within 5 years.
People have to remember it's public land for the enjoyment of everyone. And not only the public, it's habitat. It's important habitat for the wildlife and to serve the ecosystems that are in that particular area of the park. We would just ask that people be responsible, collect your yard waste, put it in your green waste disposal for a weekly pickup. Maybe that'll take 2 or 3 weeks to dispose of everything, but that's the appropriate way to do it.
Ranger Smith also comes across the remains of late-night fires, also very damaging to the ecosystems in our regional parks.
It's really frustrating to me. I spend a lot of time educating the public, patrolling the trails, and one of the toughest parts of my job is to see our natural resources being abused in that way.
Nature is amazing, and it's quite resilient, and it does amazing things, and it's good for us and all that. But one thing it can't really do is speak. That's our job. That's our job, to speak for nature, to advocate for it. And anyone seeing a message like this, I would ask them, challenge them to spread the word, what we're talking about today.
On a personal level, when I see and or hear about dumping or encroachments, tree cutting on regional park land, I get extremely frustrated. But also, I always think we need to do a better job of educating and letting the public know the values that are there before the values are gone.
To report dumping, call Metro Vancouver Regional Parks at 604-432-6350.
Don't judge a healthy lawn by its color. Here's Brian Minter explaining why a brown lawn is a healthy lawn.
Well, here's our lawn after 6 weeks of absolutely no rain. You can see how brown it's become, and that's not a problem because it's in summer dormancy right now, and we have every assurance that as we get into the autumn rains, it'll come back and be nice and rich and green. But the big concern is that people say, my lawn is dead. It's not dead. It's simply into a summer dormancy, and I can really assure you that if my lawn will come back, yours will too.
Welcome back. Iona Beach Regional Park is one of 23 parks in Metro Vancouver's regional park system. The most recent addition is Surrey Bend Regional Park, which opened to the public in the spring of 2016. The planning and development of this newest park was a rare opportunity, the chance to build a regional park from scratch, protecting, preserving, and enhancing the floodplain ecosystem, and at the same time, inviting parkgoers to connect with nature. Metro Vancouver's newest regional park is ready to be put into use, a project that's been years in the making.
Story, I would say, starts in the early 1990s when there was some development pressure on the lands at our Surrey Bend. Some filling occurred for future industrial development. At that time, there was quite a bit of public interest in preserving all of Surrey Bend as conservation lands. And so with partnership with the province, Metro Vancouver acquired about half the property and the city of Surrey acquired the northern half of the property. So that was the beginning of Surrey Bend and towards its development as a regional park.
Surrey Bend Regional Park sits across from Barnston Island, where the Fraser River takes a jog to the south, hence the name. At 348 hectares, it is the biggest park in Surrey.
The largest part of the park is an undiked bog wetland, and we've created some trails into that area so people can see what a bog wetland looks like. It does have a fish-bearing stream running right through the middle of it, Center Creek, and it has 4 different species of salmon and trout there. It is the 3rd largest bog in the region, so it is, for us, a very unique situation, and we want to preserve that and keep it intact.
The Transportation Investment Corporation, responsible for compensating habitat loss caused by construction of the nearby Portman Bridge, funded the construction of fish channels running through Surrey Bend's wetlands. Working with 6 First Nations communities, $2.5 million was spent to create or enhance fish, vegetation, and bird habitat.
They were allowed to build quite a number of fish channels in here. The excavated material was used to build the base for the foundation for our trails. The fish have come in since then, and they've also provided bridges to cross those fish channels.
The park features a nature discovery area, something new that's never been done in a regional park before.
The idea is really to connect people with nature, to allow children and their caregivers to physically interact with natural materials like sand and logs and boulders. Within that area, there's going to be an outdoor classroom made out of boulders where classes can come here to the park. Also, Metro Vancouver has nature-based programs where they'll be run out of that area. And having it close to the washrooms and the entry of the park allows people to access it right away and gives them the option of connecting with nature right out when they come in off their bike or their car.
When Metro Vancouver and the City of Surrey started planning the regional park, the southeast corner of the Surrey Bend lands was a blank slate, having been already cleared and filled in expectation of future industrial use.
With the fill area, it is really important that we reinstitute some of the native vegetation that is in the surrounding areas. It's the place that people arrive first, and we want that to be an introduction to the park, so some of the same species that occur throughout, and rehabilitating that area that had been previously filled.
With that in mind, Metro Vancouver invited UBC biology students to help replant the area with native trees and shrubs, essentially creating a forest from scratch.
We're planning for 40 and 50, 60 years in advance by planting trees that we think will grow now with these dry conditions and in the future as well with climate change. Hopefully all of this will provide habitat for wildlife, maybe not immediately, but over time, and we think it'll be better and better and better as the years go by.
The regional park features several kilometers of trails, including a loop trail that will take walkers through the wetland, an area rich with countless species of birds.
I get emails and phone calls every week asking when the park's going to be open. I think the local community have been waiting for this for a while, and so everybody's getting excited about this area, and it will provide much needed green space for everybody.
I worked for Metro Vancouver when we acquired this park 20 years ago, so it is very, very nice to see it coming to life now. It's a beautiful park. There's lovely, lovely wetlands out here. There's a nice bog, and it really hasn't been accessible to people. People really haven't been able to get out here and enjoy it. So it's nice to see it opening up. It's nice to see it being developed. It's nice to see the fish channels that have gone in and to see the things that we're doing to open it up to the people and to know that it'll still be a wonderful ecosystem.
That's all we have time for in today's episode. We hope you enjoyed learning about regional parks' ecosystems and why it's important to protect them. Come see what Mother Nature has to offer in any of our regional parks all year round. Remember, you can comment on, share, and see all our videos at metrovancouverblog.org. For the Sustainable Region, I'm Candace Ng. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.